Drag. With sunshine, the temperature in the upper 80s, it's a hot, humid day here in Springfield, Missouri, in the Ozarks. Hi, everybody. I'm Gary Lee, and welcome to the Ozark Empire Fairgrounds for stop number 5 of the PENDA Points Championship. Now, over 100 years ago, the most wanted man in the Ozarks was the outlaw, Jesse James. Today, the most wanted man is Dan Runte, right there, the driver of Bigfoot. So far, he is unbeaten. He's won every round in PENDA competition this season. Now, history tells us that over 100 years ago, when they put a bounty on the head of Jesse James, it was a former gang member, Charlie Ford, that gunned him down, shot him in the back. Will history repeat itself? Can Dan Runte's gang member, i.e. his teammate Eric Meager, gun him down? Or will it be somebody else? Well, no matter what happens, Army Armstrong, Dan Runte is a marked man.
Well, being a marked man is one thing, and being on top, they always say there's only one way to go. But what you're looking at right now could really be a posse that's going after this guy. The big question is, when is the streak going to end, and where's it going to end? Now, you relayed back to Jesse James of Missouri. I'm going to say it's more like Custer. Which one of the Indians are going to get him? That's the question.
Going back now to highlights, in the first round of qualifying, Eric Meager in the Hulkster threw the first punch. In fact, he laid down a low qualifying ET of 4.83. There you go, guys. That's what I can do. What can you do? Well, Dan Runte in the Bigfoot truck took that challenge, and right off the trailer, he laid down a 4.93, only 1/10 off. So the Hulkster would have the #1 qualifying position. Alan Pizzo had some problems in qualifying. The Predator with suspension and drive shaft problems. That left a question mark about Pizzo remaining in competition as the Black Predator having his problems. And here were some comments from Alan Pizzo.
He's going to be able to get back 4 first rounds, the question.
I don't believe so. I don't have the right U-joint with me to repair it. The flange is okay, but the U-joint broke.
So Alan thrashed away and did make round 1, but from the frying pan into the fire up against the #1 qualifier, Eric Meager in the Hulkster, there was no match. This was first round competition. Eric laid down a 4.94 to Alan's 5.75. So Eric Meager, the fast qualifier, looked to be well on his way, but could he get by the big blue Bigfoot? But round 1 had even bigger surprises. #3 qualifier and 3rd in the PENDA Points Championship, Fred Schaefer in Barefoot, was upset by Mark Hall in the Executioner. Fred was disqualified. He was out of bounds. Oh, my, what a surprise. Army talked to Fred.
DQ after the first round, that's not where you're used to coming from.
No, it's not, Army, but when I get up there, I'm representing Dodge, and I put that thing to the floor every run, and that's what they expect out of me. That's what I do.
As we take a look at the round 2 ladder, there's your matchups: Overkill, Hulkster, the Executioner and Monster Patrol, Rampage, Hercules, and Bigfoot and the Boogie Van. Well, there is a look inside the cockpit at Kurt Dabney and Overkill. Now, he's all psyched up as we go into round 2 competition.
The track has already proven itself, Gary, that it will take the horsepower. A lot of sub-5-second runs. Dabney comes out. The points total for the National PENDA Point Series showing the scoreboard. Bigfoot is literally reading a riot act to everybody else. Hulkster, Barefoot, Rampage, and the Boogie Van. Boogie Van being the only privateer in the top 5.
Well, there is a look at Eric Meager in the Hulkster. That is the teammate to the truck that leads the point standings. That's the Bigfoot organization. There's Kurt Dabney out of Fort Wayne, Indiana, in the Overkill. Overkill the near lane. That's Ford in the far lane. It's the fast qualifier. The guy with lane choice, Eric Meager, takes the victory at 4.89. And Overkill was there by virtue of being a fast loser in round 1. So he will go to the truck, and there's a look at Pam Botters as we get ready for more competition in Springfield. Springfield Ozark Empire Fairgrounds, Springfield, Missouri, for round 2 of the MTRA Monster Drags. We'll have Mark Hall in the Executioner, and he'll go up against Paul Schaefer in the Monster Patrol.
Now, Hall's already gotten past one Schaefer, Fred Schaefer, in the first round. The big question is, can he get past Paul? Paul, a salvage yard operator up in northern Indiana. And Mark Hall, a young gun on the circuit out of Champaign, Illinois. He and his brother have, I believe, turned that proverbial performance corner, Gary.
And Army talked to Mark about start line procedures for a monster truck driver.
Mark, tell me the routine you as a driver go through when you're on the starting line.
Well, by the time you see us at the starting line, we already have our helmet and fire suit and gloves on. My routine is I pull up to the line, I give my harnesses one more good tug. I look at all my gauges, make sure that I got good oil pressure, I got good temperature in the motor. Make sure my fuel system is all the way on so it doesn't vibrate off. Then we have a air button, or our shifter is operated with an air button. So I make sure my buttons are all the way up, and then I give one more good tug on the harness, pull up to the line, turn my first light on, and then pull forward, flip my shield down, I'm ready to go.
Well, he's ready to go now. You can see him tucked away in the cockpit, the executioner with Mark Hall, the Monster Patrol with Paul Schaefer.
Mark Hall, all right, doing his thing. Man, you love to see these guys come together. A 5:29, not that great a number, so the driving had to take the win for him. Schaefer in the other lane runs strong. The Hall just put him on the trailer. You know, it's interesting. Mark Hall has one client. He runs a welding shop. He has one client. You know who his client is? Paul Schaefer, the guy he's racing in the other lane. Boy, I hope he gets orders on Monday morning.
Well, it's been a good day so far for Mark Hall. He takes the victory. There's the margin of victory right there. He has to be ecstatic.
One round at a time, but are you guys doing anything different today than you normally do?
Now we're just, I don't know. Things are just starting to happen for us, and it's finally coming around a little bit. I don't know that we're necessarily doing anything different. I think maybe we're just getting a few breaks.
The next pairing will see Rampage against Hercules. And there's a look at the black Rampage. There is Hercules.
Hercules truck, a Chevrolet driven by Tim Tesmer out of Avon, Ohio. He's a privateer. When we say privateer, we mean they don't run with a major sponsor. He's pulling the money off his own head. Todd Froley out of Pontoon Beach, Illinois, driving the number 2 truck for the Dodge camp. He can definitely be a player. Horsepower has never been a problem with these Dodges, Gary Lee. It's always been chassis, hasn't it?
Well, it's a matter of getting the horsepower hooked up because, you know, 2,000-3,000 horsepower can't do you any good if you can't get it to the pavement.
Oh, me.
Wait a minute. I think we got a red light. We got a red light for Rampage. Hercules just sitting there.
I don't blame you. Don't move until the light goes green. Now, he's going to make a completed run. We'll have to get with the special events people, find out exactly what the call is. But a 1465, the number doesn't really tell us anything. He got a break right there. Some days it's better to be lucky than good.
So Todd cuts the light a little too close right there, and he is just furious with himself in the cockpit. Tim sits there. Now you can see him banging around inside the cockpit. He is very unhappy with himself. Tim sits there and takes a very leisurely drive down the course.
What happened? That's all I can say.
I don't know. My brakes are, oh, you can see them. They're smoking there, and I was trying to get on the gas a little bit, and it just rolled out and went early. You see the brakes are hot. They're binding up going up there.
The next matchup, there's Pam Vodders in the Boogie van against Dan Runte and Bigfoot. But first, let's go back to the pit area and talk to Tim Tesmer.
You know, you got to go up to the line just like a fighter. You got to step over that ring and go after him. Does it bother you going up against a factory guy like that, or you just play your own game?
Shoot, it's anybody's game. And I think I had a lane advantage there today, and I was trying to psych him out by pulling up to the line without doing any dry hops, and I think it worked.
Well, the competition continues. There's Dan Runte, who ran a 4.93 in round 1 to defeat the Monster Patrol. He also qualified at 4.93, so he has been very consistent this afternoon. Now, the Boogie van with Pam Vodders ran a 5.33, the fast loser to Rampage.
You got to remember, though, the last time these vehicles ran, Dan played mind games with her. Remember, he psyched her out, made her push her into a red light situation. So watch Pam now. She's trying to take control of the starting line. She's not going to go until she wants to go.
Well, this has been a day of upsets and strange happenings, so let's see what happens if she can out-psych or defeat Dan Runte.
Runte is like he is on a mission, Gary Lee. It's awesome. A 493, and you can hear him winging the throttle when he went over the finish line.
That is 3 straight 493s today in qualifying round 1 and round 2. As we take a look again, it was all Dan Runte. The Boogie van, incidentally, went a 532, but Runte remains unbeaten this season in PENDA points competition.
Both drivers lead the start good, but man, the second jump, Runte is just out and muscling his way to the end.
Semifinal pairings now will have Eric Meager against Mark Hall. That will be the executioner, and Tim Tesmer against Dan Runte in Bigfoot. And now back to the pit area.
Dan Runte, I tell you what, I know it's not easy, but you're making it look easy.
We've had a good race season so far this year, Army. The truck's working well. Ford Bigfoot's pulling a lot of wins out of here. You know, this has always been a tough weekend for us. We've come here and found out that maybe it isn't so bad. We're just going to have to wait and see. We're going for another win again today.
Now Tim Tesmer is tweaking on Hercules, preparing for the semifinal round coming up next. Missouri for the semifinals. The fans are excited as we take a look at Mark Hall and the executioner. And he will have the task of going up against Eric Meager in the Hulkster. And, of course, the Hulkster was the #1 qualifier earlier today.
But you got to remember, Mark Hall has developed his confidence. We're seeing a new executioner team. This race is not a giveaway, believe me. Mark Hall now believes in himself and his driving ability. Eric Meager in the far lane's good, too, but we got to wait and see. We got a race. Chevrolet's going to take the win, Gary.
Well, a mechanical problem for the Ford for the Hulkster as Eric Meager pulls off. Your fast qualifier has been knocked aside. Mark Hall goes a 532. That will put him into the finals.
So, do you call it an upset or not? I think the guy just worked his way to the win.
Well, obviously there was a problem with the Hulkster, and right in no man's land, Eric Meager elected to pull off. So, obviously a problem, but that will put Mark Hall in the final.
You know, Gary, this is the first time Mark Hall has ever been in the final. Now, we got another angle coming up on a replay, and I really can't tell what went wrong. Whatever happened in no man's land, because Meager opted not to even attempt that second jump. He just drove off the track. Meanwhile, in the lane closest to us, Hall running his own race to the final for the first time ever. Let's see how they fare.
Obviously some kind of a mechanical problem with the Hulkster as it is being pulled off the race course, but Mark Hall has to be very, very happy to make his first finals ever. Here's Army.
Mark, if I'm not mistaken, this is your first final ever.
This is it. It's the first one. This is all right. We've never been here before, so I don't know. We knew he was going to have to pull out all the stops there, and I don't know what happened to Hulkster there. It looked like he had a few problems, but what's that saying? Sometimes better be lucky than good, I guess. So.
With all the surprises we have had this afternoon, can Tim Tesmer keep up the string of upsets and take out Bigfoot? Well, we'll find out soon enough. But first of all, let's go back to the pit lane to Army Armstrong and follow up on what happened to Eric Meager.
What happened out there?
Oh, actually, I came over the first set, got the truck into high gear, and I think I took the input shaft out of the transmission as soon as we shifted to highs. RPM went up, and the MSD rev limiter looked like it did its job because the motor was definitely up there. It's a tough way to come back on a hook out to be towed off the track, but at least we made it to the semifinal round. Maybe next time we'll make it all the way.
So we'll go racing now for a right to go into the finals. Will it be that truck right there, Bigfoot, unbeaten all season long with Dan Runte at the controls? Or will it be the Hercules truck?
One thing you can bet on, Hercules is going to put it on tilt. Oh, Runte reading right out. He has won the race already. Hercules pulls right off. What? I have no idea what can be going wrong with these vehicles, Gary.
Well, keep in mind, second place in the point standings is Eric Meager. He will not be in the finals, which means that if Bigfoot can win this thing this afternoon, he will widen that gap between first and second in the PENDA Points Championship. So Bigfoot with a 5-2-0, Hercules DQ'd.
Just like a mirror image of the last race, but the wind comes out of the right lane, the breakage comes out of the left lane.
Looking now at Bigfoot coming right at you. Boy, I tell you what, nobody can touch this truck this season. You talk about being lucky.
Yeah. Well, the harder you work, the luckier you get. Always remember that. These guys work awful hard.
But watch the suspension work. Nose down coming off that second set of cars. And look at the suspension work. Well, let's go down and talk to Tim Tesmer.
Tim, being a privateer, you got to be tickled to get down to 4 trucks.
Yeah, I was thinking today was my lucky day, but when I lost my oil pressure, I think I proved different.
Okay, now, did you shut the truck off and turn off?
Well, it felt weird when I went to take off, and I've got a light in there and I've got a gauge, and they both were at 0, and I veered off the track, yeah.
Disappointing for Tim, but for Mark Hall, he is going on to the finals against Dan Runte. And Dan Runte is yet to be defeated this season. Here's Dan with Army.
Were you aware that he was having any kind of problem at all?
No, Army, I mean, that's something Kenny and Gary and Herbie and all those guys try to drive in my head. Go out there, run your own race, race the lights, and go down through there the best you can. You know, you don't have time really anymore in a PENDA series like this. We're going so fast that you got to run your own race, and you can't worry about what's going on over there.
So can Mark Hall be the executioner and take out Bigfoot? We'll find out. About four-wheel fun, the ultimate privateer would have to be the tough truck.
Yeah, we got an 83 Toyota, looks like, on the track right now, Gary. Who would that be?
Well, that would be Sean Figley making the rounds and to the goading and cheering of the crowd. The windshield wipers even on, not sure why.
But only one windshield wiper's on. I'm not sure why either. Big jump. Ow! Oh, man. Well, he'll be at the front end shop Monday morning, but he'll be grinning in a minute.
Mark Hall gets set for his first final. In the executioner, he will take on Bigfoot. And talk about a big task. Bigfoot unbeaten this season as Dan Runte prepares to stage the big blue Ford.
Dan Runte, like you said, he's a sharp driver. He's a good driver, but he listens to people that have been around before. The kid in the lane next to him we're looking at right now, Mark Hall, the same way. These young men are the future of this sport. They both worked hard to get here, one in a Ford, one in a Chevrolet. Bigfoot keeps that win streak going, Gary.
Mark ran him hard, a good run for Mark, but a 5:11 slower than he had been, but Dan Runte wins it. He remains unbeaten, and Mark Hall goes a 5:23 in the executioner. As you take a look again at the replay.
Like he said, he doesn't race the guy in the lane next to him. He races the track, he races the clock, and he races to the finish line.
Bigfoot remains unbeaten, pads the points lead in the PENDA Points Championship. Let's go down trackside and visit with our winner.
After a few congratulatory words from your older mentor here, Herb Richards, this is a perfect season. It's never been done before.
We're working real hard at it. Thank Herbie and Kenny and all the guys here. I mean, like I said, we got a great team. Ford Bigfoot's working well. Firestone tires are hooking up where nobody else is. I just can't say enough about it. I mean, we got a bunch of great sponsors.
Mark, you know, is a good driver. That could have been the break he was looking for. It looked like he ran you hard down there.
He did. He ran all the way down through there. Like I said, I don't pay a lot of attention to what goes on the other side. It's just something you got to do. Go out there and run as hard as you can run every time you go in this group.
Well, 5 straight in the PENDA Points Championship. Obviously, that guy right there has a big margin over Hulkster, but notice executioner Mark Hall has knocked Pam Bonners out of the top 5. And here is Mark Hall.
Mark, your first final looked to us about a half a truck is all it was down there.
Yeah, we knew he was going to have to run it hard to beat those guys, and my hat's off to those guys. They ran hard, and they just, I think they outran us through the middle there and then got us.
How about you guys now? Now you know you can do it. That's got to make you feel great.
Oh, that feels wonderful. This is great. It's a big confidence builder, and we'll take second place. That's all right.
So we can restore the Springfield area of the Ozarks to the serenity it enjoyed before the Monster Truck Weekend. Trucks and Tractor Power is a production of Diamond Piece Ford in association with the Nashville Network.